Last time I camped on the side of a mountain in the southern San Juans and endured a hailstorm that almost swept me away. So Gary's bringing a storm with him. I thought he would have been here by now, but I guess he's probably screwing around in town. Yeah, it's a pretty big storm. I just missed a nice cloud to cloud lightning bolt just kind of went across the sky. It was nice. And of course the thunder that comes with it is pretty nice too. So yeah, I hope he gets here before the bottom drops out. That report, I would say, what is that? 7 miles? It looks like it's right above us, but I think that's probably more like 7 miles out. The lightning bolt went right across that dark spot right there, right across the bottom. Maybe we'll see another bolt before. I told him I'd meet him up here at the top of the road, make sure he knew where to turn. I think he's got the turn down off the pavement and just keep coming up here. I told him I'd come up here and tie a flag off to the side of the road, but now I'm thinking, well, shortly after I said that, I was like, nah, I want to make sure he gets through that mud hole. The turn is right over there, so the road goes all the way up the hill, but that turn is kind of, unless you're on that side of the road, unless you're just kind of going slow up this hill, you'll miss it. Gary should be rolling up that dirt road underneath those power lines any minute now. Maybe he can get there before that rain hits. Hope we don't run into my boy. That sounds good. There he is. He's like a giant banana. That's awesome. Stay left. 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 No, no, no. It's too slick. Take that left track and stay right in the center of it. Just keep the momentum. That's all you got to do. Wild man Gary. Oh, this is a mess down here.
Durango. I pulled over into a service station, got this on.
Yeah.
And I have learned that if the high side is on the right, this is a bitch to try to stand up with all of this on it.
Yeah.
I've done it with just the bags, playing with it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
But you get all of this. I literally had to put it in neutral and push it to a place.
Well, so I named mine, my load on the pillion, I call Big Bertha.
Big Bertha?
This is fucking ridiculous, man.
I'm
You're just trying to steer. You're just trying to go around obstacles. It's like, damn, Bertha, sit the fuck down. Turn the key off.
Well, I was going to tell you, here's my trip today. 507 miles, 10 hours and 4 minutes. Tell me about it. Tell you about
Tell
it.
me about it.
This is my Haven XL, the life changer. I got into San Juan Forest on Thursday afternoon. Found a good place, a couple of trees. Got everything set up. Took me about 20 minutes total to get everything set up. With the rain tarp, ground tarp. I have a secondary tarp here for...
Just in case you feel like it?
Well, the rain was blowing in from that direction, so I needed something to kind of shut it off. You can see all my stuff, crap, shit, is packed up underneath. That'll keep it dry. And This is my underquilt, which keeps me nice and toasty and warm at night. And I love it. It's great.
Observing the wildlife close to camp. Big freaking elk print, maybe. That looks like a big deer print to me. But
It looks like an elk. Yeah, there'd be elk.
yeah.
And that cat's following them.
So we can walk up through the woods here, get to the road. It's not that far if you want. Man, can't even get any editing done without a hailstorm coming. You can see little tiny flakes, but that's how it always starts. It always starts with these little guys, these little BBs coming down, and then all hell breaks loose. Yeah, I've got all my setup in here under the tarp. Trying to get some editing done. Trying to get my last Moab video done. Hopefully this is as bad as it gets, because if it hits like it did the other day, that's not good. So Gary and I learned a new feature of Colorado in the summer, the Colorado monsoon. I'd never heard about it. I've spent lots of time in Colorado, but apparently I've always missed June and July, which is the rainy season. It rains pretty much every day, and one of those days it was going to rain 8 to 10 hours, so we decided to roll into Mancos and avoid the storms. The great thing about our camp was it was so close to Mancos. It was less than 7 miles to get into town, and Mancos had pretty much everything you needed to sustain yourself in the woods for a few days. And they had water. Just get a big bag of water from the river if you needed it, or in our case it was more convenient just to grab some gallons of water from Family Dollar, and beer and alcohol right down the street. It's a nice little drive. We wound up spending most of the day in Mancos and did some touring of the local percussion shop, which was pretty interesting. This guy had instruments from all over the world, and turned out it was a fun time, and we avoided spending all day at camp in the rain. That's freaking me out, man. So as Mancos started to close up, we decided to grab some dinner and a few beers before heading back to camp. And as we headed back to camp, just before the sun went down, you could see a double rainbow. A double rainbow.
Rainbow all the way. Double rainbow. Oh my God. It's a double rainbow all the way. Whoa, that's so intense. Whoa, man. Wow. Whoa. 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 Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Woo. Oh wow. Woo. Yeah. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my God, look at that.
So yeah, it's a beautiful rainbow, and I really didn't think about it, but it had been raining fairly hard for the last 10-12 hours while we were in town, so it didn't really dawn on me till we got back onto the muddy road that we might be running into some trouble. And even then, I wasn't that concerned, because this lower section, before we started climbing the mountain, was relatively flat, very sandy, and shed most of the water. Had lots of rocks in it too, so it was it had some grip, and you could turn and have some control. But I was worried about this section coming up, the uphill section. There was a couple of steep sections, and this is the one that I'm coming up on now. It's really hard to tell here, but you can see car tracks. Looks like somebody slid off into the ditch a few times, and I was going to make sure that I could make it up before I let Gary go up, because at least I could touch the ground flat-footed on both sides and use my big feet as skids in case I needed to keep the bike from going over. So this is the section I was afraid of. This looks really slick. You can see somebody's been up here sliding all around. If you see me fishtailing, Wait till I get around the corner. If you see me fishtailing, just let me get up there and I'll come back and get your bike. 'Cause you got better tires than I do.
Okay.
But I don't know, yours starts getting sideways, it might get, you know. So if I can't handle it on this bike, let me come back and get yours up there.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me get up to the top, at least to that next pitch, right around the corner. If you don't see me sliding, try it. If you don't feel comfortable, let me know. I'll come back down and get your bike. Yeah, so if you didn't notice that violent shake in the windshield, that's me getting sideways, and both my tires just filled up like big brown donuts with that clay that's stuck in the little bit of tread that I had on the front and the no tread that I had on the back. So I took my tail in between my legs and I rolled backwards back down the hill because there's no way I tried to even turn it around, just no way. It wouldn't, the only way the rear tire would move is sideways. So it wanted to go towards the ditch, so I just decided to roll back down and try to keep it upright, and then turn around and head towards the only dry spot that I could see anywhere around there, which is the big high voltage tower that we passed on the way up. And we just decided to leave the bikes there overnight and hike the 1 mile back up to camp, which was it was hard. I tell you, it was hard to be defeated by something like that. But yeah, we were both in a bad position. I think Gary had better tires on his bike, but still, I think he would have had the same thing, because my front tire had pretty decent tread left, and it filled up with mud and threw mud everywhere, all over the bike. And yeah, that's another completely separate story. But anyway, hiking back to the bike. Hiking back to the camp was humbling.
Yeah,
So here's the question: would it be easier to walk up there and back till the road dries out, or would it be easier to walk up there and pack up all our shit and hang from right here? That's a tough question, ain't it?
Yeah.
Because it may be a couple, 3 days before that shit dries out. When I came up there the first time, I was like, man, this looks unusual, but it's very flat. It's not real rutted out. So I really didn't think much about it. But now I'm thinking, fuck. It could be like 3 days before that shit dries out. It could be dry in the morning. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if the sun comes out and it stays out. But when I saw you fishtail, I was like, fuck, there's
That's
no
exactly why I was like, no, when we get up to that slick spot, I'm going to make sure, dude, because you're going to have a lot of trouble regardless, even though you got better tires.
Yeah.
But look what happened to my tires. It just turned into fucking big fucking slick.
I was watching as you were going up, and it was just like, it just turned black and it brown. It get bigger and bigger and wider and wider.
Well, we could get your bike up there, even if we had to let 10 pounds of air out of it. We could get your bike up there. It's just like, So Gary and I were able to walk down the hill the next morning and get the bikes, roll into town, and hopefully let the greasy road up to camp dry out a little bit while we were in town. And we didn't have any problem getting up the hill later on that afternoon. So we spent the night, one more night, up above Mancos in the San Juan National Forest, and rolled out the next morning. It had rained a little bit, but more like a drizzle, a typical drizzle, other than that mud hole that doesn't dry out. And got back up, rolled down the hill, got down to the greasy spot, and thought, okay, maybe it's greasy again. But yeah, it didn't rain anywhere near as much as it did the day before. So yeah, so we had a little bit of a sprinkle on the way up, and we went into Durango and then north to Silverton to hang out in a little bit, hopefully more drier situation, at least a different view.
Here comes some slick shit, and he's fucking hauling ass. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's not slick. It just looks really greasy. Yeah, I won't forget that hill soon. Owl shit hill, that's what I'm gonna call it. Yeah, I bet we don't get any more water today. I bet almost all of it was right there at camp. Well, so at some point I need to talk about the fact that Gary's been riding since he's probably got 10, 15 years of riding on me. We've both been riding since we were kids. Gary raced dirt track even, but he's been riding Harley for the last few years, and he just traded that in for a big, tall, adventure style bike, the Rally Explorer Tiger. It's a nice bike. It's very capable off-road, but it's still big and tall and heavy, and you know, we've loaded 3 fat bitches on the back of both of our bikes, so as you can see, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like that brings up the question. I started talking about that this morning, is you know, the people that are laughing at us with all this crap on their bike. They're like, yeah, well, maybe these guys that are making fun of us don't stay out on their bike very long, you know? Because I mean, you can put up with anything for a weekend, or maybe a week or two even. But you know, if you're gonna live on your bike, you started kind of want to carry a little bit more stuff for comfort. And we're very comfort oriented. You know, we like camp chairs and lots of tarps and Haven hammocks. You know, queen size bed. You know, that kind of stuff. It's like, you know, there's a real comfort factor to bringing in your queen size bed and your air conditioning, and you know. And it may seem silly to the people that only spend a weekend on their camping trips, but you know, you start living on your bike, I think your attitude changes. You know, I used to camp off my dual sports, and it was a pretty slim pack. You know, it was a hammock, a tarp, a sleeping bag, maybe a camp pillow, some cooking supplies, real thin, because you know, I didn't have much of a place to put the stuff that I wanted to carry, so it's like I'm forced to slim down. You know, I've met guys that camp out of a backpack. Saw a guy yesterday at the library that's doing a weekend tour of Colorado. It's a race, basically. It's a bike packing. That's what they call the race. It's bike packing. So he's 2 to 3 day race, depending on how fast. So from northern Colorado to southern Colorado, you know, like 48,000 feet worth of climbing and descending through the Rockies, you know, across the Rockies. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting race. I'm trying to remember. It seemed like it was 300 miles of pavement, 200 miles of dirt, and like 30 miles of single track on a bicycle with a pack. And he was very thin. Very thin load. You know, probably everything that he had on his bike could probably go into a large kid's backpack. So very thin rider. You know, but yeah, he's gonna endure the pain of riding all that distance, in addition to the pain of sleeping very light. You know, he might have some hypothermia issues if he's not careful. Maybe he's just got really good ultralight gear, I don't know, but my suspicion is he's going to have some uncomfortable nights. I think he made a comment like that, you know, get through it or something like that. But yeah. I'm glad Gary's progressing. I'm glad he's stepping out a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned about how fast he feels like he's progressing. And he may be just fine. Just worried about he's got all kinds of electronic age, you know, traction control, ABS, which may get him in some trouble. But so far, I think that his biggest issue is just freaking balance. Learning how to ride the bike in the dirt is a big one, but just managing that huge load that's way up higher than he's used to. And you know, he's when it's not loaded down, he's kind of tiptoeing around on his bike. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, but hopefully he'll pick up some skills, because we're gonna be doing a little bit of dirt riding. You know, this is probably about the extent of what I want to do. you know, 2 or 3 miles of dirt. Unless there's some really awesome, nice, smooth stuff that, you know, neither of us are going to get hurt on. And he's got a very capable dirt bike, ADV bike. I've got a street bike that can go off-road. So, yeah, I got on his, like, oh, this thing's a beast. Just glides over stuff. Mine, I feel most of what I'm on. Not as bad as that RT, but yeah, it's still a little bit sketchy being on a dirt bike, or being on a street bike in the dirt, though.
So join us next time as we roll up north into the small mining town of Silverton with tons of history and beautiful riding all around the town. See you next time.